Welcome to TradeTheNBA.com. This is Jones Reports for the 12th of August, and well, we didn't get a whole lot of action. We filled in a little bit of Friday's work, but we do see that the NBI White potentially making its spike here now, looking to be just over magenta. Now, as long as magenta is rising, that's what you would use as your short fuel cover to drive to new highs, actually. So that's worth noting in that aspect. But any breakdown of the magenta while that NBI white is rising, then you would have justification for a negative. But you can already see here DOC, cyan, dipping below green, which means that midterm buyers have overtaken the strength of shorts from that standpoint. Still building a weak but growing shakeout. And what's going to be interesting is that if you break out to new highs, you better see it keep building to take out the previous high, or you're going to have higher highs in a lower shakeout, and that will be a divergence to the downside, and you will definitely see a disproportional dip in that scenario. And of course, everyone's still looking for CPI numbers, whether the Fed's going to cut, and all that other nonsense. And of course, those will all be the narratives that they'll be speaking of. But when you look at Nasdaq here, also creeping up to the new highs there, same situation, and MBI White now fully in control of that situation as well. However, Magenta is still leading and much stronger from its shakeout standpoint in that histogram relative to the S&P. So the real driver is still tech at this particular stage. No change in that construct. Treasuries literally not even a factor anymore in this situation, and that's pretty much the Fed after the election have basically just abrogated their role. I mean, they were everything every minute during Biden's term, and now they're just kind of an annoyance. I guess the best way to describe it. The backpedaling on what to be expecting from the Alaska meeting with Trump and Putin. Narrowing a bit. They're trying not to build too big an expectation because the pretty strong European response now. They don't want the war to end. And that's become very clear that they'll do anything they can to continue this war with Russia. That begs a whole separate set of questions. We kind of already know what the answers for those are. But it's interesting simply because it's going to add to the dynamic. But as long as there's the potential for ease sanctions, things like that against Russia, well, that will drive oil way down fast. And from Trump's view, that's a pretty darn good situation. Um, More and more people are talking about, the short on the dollar and how it's starting to fade. And it's like, yeah, but they're still selling the narrative that, of course, tariffs, that inflation is coming. Maybe not until next year, but it's coming. I mean, it gets old already. As long as oil continues to remain in its neutral state, we're going to be slightly higher CPI than we would have otherwise been, simply because of the oil being up from where it was, but it's not going to be anything significant. And there certainly isn't going to be any inflation related to tariffs. So, but any inflation they do see, they'll blame on that. So that it is what it is. Gold is suffering on that calming news around the world. Gold needs that ugly narrative to continue to drive it. Bitcoin, having pushed towards its highs, gave it all back within the same day. And look, amazing how these readings from an MBI standpoint look almost identical across asset classes here from the S&P, Nasdaq, Bitcoin here. I think that ETH is slightly improved, but still doing the exact same thing. And that's just because of this idea of the stablecoin success for the future. So we're just bouncing back and forth. That's literally all that is. And you can see even in the decay here with magenta fading, not a whole lot of strength in the move from shorts, but once you pivot that magenta below the 25 under yellow there, that's when we started to really start to get some weakness, and it accelerated. We would expect a 50% move with the MBI white lead here. Magenta is back over, so right now you're in the middle of a short cover, but that's still going to be the general push, and that's all the way down to the 63.80 range. So we'll just continue to follow that because once your magenta fades back underneath, and particularly if it does so before the 25, and you get a pivot lower, that will be much uglier, and I would expect that the 50 would break in that case. So that becomes an easy benchmark to follow along. And what we had was the early morning pump, and then it flipped over to wipe out all the call buyers. So they all pretty much got wiped out from Monday. That puts all the strength back into the put guys, and then they're going to get hammered the opposite direction from the call buyers. So it's just going to be the flip it back and forth until there's some kind of clarity as to what's actually taking place. But for now, more narrative stories. That's it. That's the only thing moving everything right now, and that's just the basis for things. Is that going to change anytime soon? It'll be interesting once we start to see what happens at the BLS from the uh, actual numbers with the new appointment and that, and we'll see if the how bad the narrative was. Maybe all the data is going to be much uglier because it might actually be truthful. We'll see. Uh, or we could just get more of the same, which is entirely possible as well. As always, anything relevant, though, I'll put it on our team chat. Have a good one. Trade well.